Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Power Apps Learning Day 4. In today's class, we will learn what are the various controls in Power Apps Canvas app, and also we will explore various ways to add users in Azure Active Directory. We will learn what is Azure Active Directory and what is the significance of that, and also we will learn how to add users, security groups, and what is the significance of those two related to Power Platform. Okay, without any further delay, the first aspect today we will be learning is Azure Active Directory. If you notice here, I see my username, profile pic, email ID, blah, 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 blah. When I say view account, it took me to all the details of my account. So where these accounts are rendering from, these accounts are rendering from Active Directory. We all know that there is something called Active Directory from which it picks up the users to ensure that their user ID and the password, whatever they are providing while logging in, is accurate, isn't it? So that is called Active Directory. Active Directory is a repository to maintain users slash employees to ensure their login details or to store their login details or their profiles. Okay, so how we will organize in Office 365 to add a new user to Office 365 bucket and provide access to that user on all the other operations. How we could do that is when you come here and say all apps, look for Azure. For some reason it's not coming. Okay. When you say portal.azure.com, when you say portal.azure.com, it will take user to Azure portal. I repeat, portal.azure.com. I'm also sharing in the chat. So basically, when you say portal.azure.com, it will take user to Azure portal. Under that, there is something called Azure Active Directory. If you do not see this option, you can always search here as Active Directory. So which will come here. After that, just select that Azure Active Directory, which takes you to that portal or the tenant Active Directory from Azure. What are the credentials you need to provide for portal.azure.com? The same credentials which you provide when you connect with office.com or when you connect with powerapps.microsoft.com. Okay, so after you connect here, click on users. When you click on users, typically it shows you only your user account alone because you do not have more users added into your system as of now, right? So now what we need is we need to add a user to my tenant. So what is the option I need to select? Go to new user, create new user. Very important. Focus and ask me questions if you have any doubts while creating a user, because we need to learn how to do the sharing option also once we create the app. So to share the user, to share the app with any other user in your tenant, you have to have at least one other user as part of your tenant. So just create user, not invite user. So after that, you will come here and you start do this creating the new user account. However, there are two type of users who could access your tenant. One is the user within your tenant, and the second user is external user. I repeat, there are two type of users who could access your tenant. One, the user existed within your tenant. Second user is external user. That user do not have to be part of your tenant. They will be outside the tenant, and once you share your access, or when you add user as external user or a guest user, they will also be able to access your tenant artifacts or tenant apps, flows, Power BI reports. Okay, but for this course we will not be focusing on the external user, we are focusing only on within the tenant users. So here we will give first name or username, my bad, username followed by the name of the person, first name, last name. This will show the tenant domain. My tenant domain is KVN, which stands for Krishna Vandanapu, KVN Teams dot on Microsoft.com. Your tenant might show something else. While you are creating the tenant, you might have given your own domain, or it might have given a domain randomly, right? So you don't have to pick anything here. Just leave it as it is. Give the username, any username randomly. Let us say, let's create an account for Pallavi ma'am. IS Pallavi, IS, and the first name is Pallavi. Second, last name is IS. Let's say that. I don't want to generate the password automatically. I want to define a password for my user, because if it generates automatically, I don't know what's the default password it generated, right? So I will provide my custom password so that I can share it with Pallavi ma'am so that she can log in onto my tenant, or like I can log on with her account and that password. So I'm giving my password to ma'am. Done. And now user location is, I'm giving as United States. In your case, you will give it as India. And if I want to provide any job details, I can provide, okay, HOD, and department is IT. Say like company name is Gayatri, Gayatri Vidya Parishad, right? When I say click create user, it will spin a brand new user for Pallavi ma'am. And when I come here, I should be able to see that, which would take probably 5 or 10 minutes. There you go. It created account for Pallavi ma'am, right? So now if I want to connect as Pallavi ma'am, I can connect as Pallavi ma'am by just entering her credentials. Look at here. So what is her ID? IS Pallavi at KVN at kvnteams dot on Microsoft.com. Now like I'll say IS Pallavi at kvnteams dot on Microsoft.com. Now when I say that, it will ask the credentials. For the first time, it will always ask you to change the password, because that password was created by the administrator. Now the user had to set their own password, which is absolutely expected behavior. Now it just logged into her account. So basically, it is asking for the what you call Microsoft Authenticator. So when that user is connecting, they need to connect or they need to configure that. So or else I do not have a way to skip this or what. Okay, let me try one more time. Office.com sign in. It should sign in automatically. Yes. Different account. No, 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 no. Need some more information. Ask later. So it is not letting. Basically, once you are done with that, it will ask you, it is asking you to complete authenticator. I already have around 20 to 30 authenticators on my mobile, so I don't want to configure one more. This is how you will set up a user in your account. Okay. Similarly, I have added so many accounts on my tenant, and I can switch between those accounts. Okay. On the other hand, what is that? External user is guest user. When I say new guest user, I can I can add a guest user who is outside my organization or outside my tenant. In this time, you see that it is not asking create user, it is asking invite user, and this time it did not show my tenant domain. It is saying like, give me your email ID. I can give my Gmail, I can give my Hotmail, I can give my Yahoo, anything. So that user account is completely outside my domain or outside my tenant. Okay, that is how we create users in our Office 365 Azure Active Directory under the tenant. Okay. So how do we create groups and what is the significance of groups? Like the way how we created a user to give access to the app or the artifacts under the Power Platform. So think about this. I have created an app. Now I want to share with Deepak in my team who is working. So if I do not have Active Directory account for Deepak, I cannot share the app with him, not to update the app, or to play the app once I'm done with my implementation or once I'm done with my development, right? So in order to do that, what I need is I need his account to be there as an individual user. That is fine, but I am creating an app for a division, say like finance division, transportation division, or what you call um, housekeeping, or there are various divisions in an organization where they want their own set of apps which they want to access. So that time I cannot go and keep adding each and every user to that app. I have to have one group. In that group, I should have all the users added in that. So that for that, we create a new group and dump all the users who are related to for that particular division. If I want to add everybody under finance, I will create a group, new group, and then I will add all my users into this group. So remember, always the group type always a security group, and we create a group and we provide a description to the group. And if you want to assign user, assigned user, or dynamic user, or what is the type of this, I always have to select assigned user. I don't want the users to be get added onto this group dynamically. I want to decide who needs to be part of this. So now when I select this, see no member selected, it started showing me all the users who are part of my organization. I'll select whoever I wanted to be part of this, say like Krishna, Kethana, and Eric, Emma, and Eric, blah blah blah. I'll just say select. Now if you see, once that group is created, the group will have these four members by default. And also I should select one owner for this group, which default is me, And then I'll say this is a security group. I'll say travel team. This security group is for travel department. Okay, I'll click on create. Once I click create, it will create a new security group in my tenant, which is dedicated for travel. Now let me refresh and say travel. There you go. And when I go onto the travel team, I will be able to see all the artifacts related to that team. So first thing is the type of the type of the security group, and then followed by, when I click on members, it shows all the members who are part of that security group, who is the owner of that security group. If I want to add one more owner, because it is always a best practice in any organization to add a security or the service account as the owner, because users will stay or will leave the organization, right? So in any organization, we should not add a individual user as a owner, because users may move between the verticals. So today X is part of travel department. Tomorrow they might move from travel department to housekeeping, or they might move on to finance department or any other department. When they move out of that particular department, they cannot be the owner of that group. So we should always add a service account to that group. That's the best practice in case of a real-time IT industry, not in our personal tenant. Okay, that is how users and groups will be maintained in a tenant to organize our apps or artifacts in the Power Platform. Any questions so far? Okay, now resume back to controls in Power Apps. So now we created a user and security group. Now let's explore all the various very important controls we should learn along the way while we are creating apps or while we are accomplishing our academic project. So they are, when we notice here, I will focus the most important controls we need to learn to accomplish our project, but you are absolutely free to explore all the controls and come back to me and ask me if you have any questions. Okay, because it is not easy to focus on each and every control, so feel free to explore all the other controls and come back to me if you have any questions. Say like, sir, I wanted to use pen input control, how could I use, what are the options to be followed, and what are all the various functions or the properties I should learn. You are absolutely good to explore and come back to me. Okay, so in the last class, we have explored or learned how to add a label and how to set the width, height, and what is the default height to be set to the label, and how to change the background, how to change the text color, font, everything. Now we will learn about the other controls like text input, gallery, date picker, button, and the form. These are the important controls, as it already mentioned as the popular controls. These are all the popular controls every user will end up using very frequently. Okay, so we already learned about this. Did we also in the last class we also explored about the layouts and the templates as well, right? We noticed that how a template, how a screen will get created when you select a template, and how a screen will get created when you select a layout. So now let's go ahead and add a text input. So the text input is a text box which we usually use to read the user data. Could be first name, last name, age, address, or any free text which we wanted to capture from the user, right? So The important properties are, these are the important properties, and these are the various actions, properties and triggers which I can accomplish for that control. Okay, and these are all the advanced properties for this control. Just observe the contextual menu which is changing as and when I select the text box. When I come out of that text box, the contextual menu is just hiding the unnecessary properties which doesn't support that control. Now when I just select the text box control alone, now it is started showing me a different set of properties which I could apply for that text box control. Okay, and then also as we have learned in the last class, each and every control in Power Apps comes with this bubble or the idea tip. When you select that, artificial intelligence will come into picture and it will tell you that, hey buddy, what you wanted to do on this control. Do you want to format, or do you want to change the orientation of the text, any what you exactly wanted to do. Okay, so that is what is this. Now how the data is rendering in this, the property what is that is default. If I just remove the default, the text will go off. However, what is this control? How do I know what is this control? There should be some uh, preface, or there should be some index for the user to say that this text box is this, go ahead and enter that text. So that is called hint text. In this we will say first name. So this is not a value, it is giving user a tooltip kind of a thing, say like what this control is all about. Example, now I'll say another label here. For the time being, it is distracting me with the background image. So let me delete this mask. Also none. Okay, good. I'll say first name, and then uh, LBL. Again, camel sensitive naming convention. I'm very particular when I do the code review or the app review. I always look at the naming convention how you are creating. Okay, first name, and here txt text box txt followed by first name. Right? Again, for the label LBL first name, for the text box txt first name. Right? Now notice that hint text, when I click on that, hint text will get disappear, or it will get uh, overridden for the user input. But whereas when I click outside, it automatically uh, shows what that control is for. So the control is for the first name, right? And notice the behavior. When I select that, the border thickness is high. When I select outside, the border thickness is low. So where is that behavior? Usually when I come here, I see a border here, but that is not it. These are all the regular or very general properties. When it comes to the advanced property and say border, here see that border thickness is 2, focused border thickness is 4, which is exactly what it is doing. When I select the text box, the border thickness is going high because the focused border thickness is 4. So when I say that as also same as border thickness, I just reduce the border thickness to 1 in both the cases. At the time of at the time of unselecting the control and selecting the control also, I want the border thickness of the text box to be 1. Notice that thickness of the border. Now I don't have any difference whether I select the control, I don't select the control. The thickness of the border thickness is very consistent. Do you guys see that? Now I'll say my first name is Krishna. But notice when I mouse hover, the background of the text box is going to the light blue color, isn't it? I don't want that to happen. How I could do that is select the control and come down. See this disabled control, hover, press color, tooltip, isn't it? So hit hover and see this house hover fill is having some color, right? So now when I say here hover fill will show what color it is coming with, right? There are two ways to set or to clear this. One is make this value as 0 and see what happens when you play that. It's not showing any background color does as and when I move my mouse onto that control, because I have set the aperture value to 0, which means that it doesn't apply that percentage. It applies the this color to 0%. So when it says 0%, it will not show that impact. If you do not want to tweak that, I want to get rid of that value completely, just clear it out. Both are same. You can make the aperture value itself as 0 or you can clear it out. But today I don't want. Tomorrow I felt, oh gosh, having that value is giving a better visibility. Everybody has their own UI standards. Everybody have their own UI preferences. My UI preferences, I don't want any background. Maybe Deepak want the UI preference to be like that, or Divakar sir want the UI to be like that, or any other color. So always preferable is make it 0. In case if you want to get it back, all you need to do is just make that value 0 to 1, so that you don't have to worry what are these RGB values. This is RGBA, red, green, blue, and aperture value. Okay, so these are the two ways you can tweak that value with. Now if you see, I just reverted back my behavior of the hover, and it is started showing me light blue color, right? Again, this is absolutely your choice. I don't have any preference. I personally, I don't like it, so I just took it off. If you feel that having that color for password alone is making sense, you can always do that. Okay. And next, now I do not want my text box to sorry, I want my text box to be address field. Address always will have more than one line, right? So first I will have a street address, followed by the location or the city name, followed by the state, followed by the zip code, followed by the country name. So which we usually give line by line. How we could do that? There is no control, explicit control for address, right? How do I make my text box to be a multi-line control? How I could do that is come here, text input, and when you just increase the height, play this. But even then it is just, see, my enter key is not even working. Doesn't matter how many times I click on enter key, because the behavior of this control is single line. When you come here, the mode property, it says single line. I'll have to shift that to multi-line. When I shift that to multi-line, no, did you notice that the text which was in a center orientation, all of a sudden it went to the top orientation, because it is a multi-line text. It is no longer a single line text. If it is a single line text, the orientation will be vertical alignment is center, but whereas now this orientation of this text box is multi-line orientation. Now notice I am able to enter any number of lines as I want, right? Now, if I want to give this field as a description. Example, one of our friend wanted to do online car rental, right? In that scenario, he has to provide more description about the car. Also, he has to provide if there are any known issues with that car. That time I cannot give it as a single line text box, because it could have probably it could have a problem like brakes, brake shoes are not working, or the the left side of the wheel alignment is misplaced, and also the trunk door is not opening, and the right side mirror is already broken and it has scratches on the body. All these are unknown issues or known problems with the car before he released to the customer. So that time he has to mention, like, problem number one, blah blah blah, problem number two, blah blah blah. So user, when they try to book that car, they should be able to see, hey, is there any existing issues, or this is this car fully serviced. Those options will only be entered if you admin or the garage owner has a field with multi-line text, isn't it? The next important control is a button control. Like as the text box, button also has a behavior of on mouse over. Very subtle change you could see here. If you see the light blue color to thick blue color, it is shifting. Are you able to notice that? Very hard to notice, but let me increase the size of the button. Now notice. Do you see that? Because when I do a mouse over on the button, it should always have that behavior, that so that user know they are clicking that button. Okay, their mouse control is on that. Say like submit, how I'm changing the text on the button by double clicking on that, or I can also go on to the text property and I can just change the value on that button. And similarly, what is the naming convention for the control is btn submit. Repeat: label lbl, text input txt, button btn, screen scr, rectangle rec. Okay, now this is the submit button. So I want my submit button hover behavior to be as green. Now I don't know the RGB color for green. No rush. Go to Google, say RGB color picker. Now you see it is very simple and very clear. Now just all I need to do is that go to this. Okay, I want a thick green color when user do the mouse over. What is the RGB color? This is the RGB color. Copy this RGB color and put it over here. Now if I just play the app and take it, notice that the color is now no longer my bad. The color is no longer a thick blue color when I mouse over onto that button. It is green color. So that way this helps you, very simple, straightforward. RGB color picker. Here I can see the color shades. In fact, you can tweak to an extent what color you wanted, and it also gives you a sneak peek of that color also, what color it is going to be. And when I come here, it's going to be very thick green. Okay, and the next thing is, notice that when I come here, a very okay, a bit of border there. So border is say like 10 pixel border. And now if you see here, I have my border as green. My personal preference, I do not like border to be on any button. If you feel that having one pixel border makes some sense, you're always good to have a border for the button. But now if I just go here, I don't have any border. I don't have a behavior of popping out the control when I remove the button with the border. I remove the border for the button, it always goes out. So do I have to click on play every time when I want to see the behavior of the control, how it look like when I am testing the control? Do not have to. Hold the alt button in your keyboard and just do the mouse over, which exactly works as when you do the play. If you want to see the behavior of the control, or if you want to see how a property will render in the real time, what you could do is hold on the alt control in your alt key in your keyboard and just try to do whatever you wanted to do, which exactly gives you a flexibility for you to see how it works in the play mode. Okay. Similarly, if I want to just I don't want color picker, sir. I know I'm going to give the color as green. You can always remove or replace that with the standard colors green. Can I give this to pink, light yellowish pink, light yellow, red, green, pink? No, no, no. There are some standard names: green, red, blue, black, white. These are the standard color names which you can provide here and system will understand. You cannot give the light yellowish green, light yellowish blue. You cannot do that. For that, if you really want, you can always go to color picker and just go here and just add this. I don't even know what is the name of this color, but I assume that I like this color to be as a background for my screen. That time I don't know the color name, so always I need to use RGB color. I'm giving, it is not that my color choice, just giving as a hypothetical example. So green, again green, red, black, white, and I think blue also it supports. Yeah, there is blue also. So you can always give that colors. And what is this minus 20% color fading? How much color fade you want? Is it like 20%, 40% you want the color fade? Now notice 40% color fade is more thicker. When I say 10%, it is a little lighter. See this. You can play around those properties, how much percentage you wanted to fade your color. If it is minus 10% or 40%, straight away you can see that when I say 40%, it became too lighter, isn't it? So similarly you can just play around those properties. Always remember the UI is the one which takes a maximum amount of time to ensure that the app is aesthetically good and the UI looks eye catchy. So it is always depends on individual who are creating the app. Okay. Now the submit is a positive action, so I have given the hover behavior to be green, which is okay. But notice when I see green, if it is thick green, well and good, I could see the text color as white. But if I give the background as say like light green color, say like if I just reduce to minus 70% or like 70% dull, that gives to more green color, light very light green color, right? But this time it is very hard to read what is there on the button, isn't it? Or are you guys able to read it? See this. It is very hard to read what is there on the button, right? So always remember when you are creating an app, two things you need to remember: one, users flexibility, and two, aesthetically is it apt to that screen or to that control or not. not to discriminate anybody. There are people out there in the world who has color blindness. It is very hard to read a white color on top of a light green color. So now I want to change the text color when I do the mouse hover, right? What I can do, if you come here, like the way how you have the fill color, you also have the font color. Now just click on that and say black. Now notice when I just mouse over, the button color fill color is turning to a light green color and the text color is turning to black, which is more easy for us to read. So these are all some small things we always have to remember when you are creating the app. So now this is all about button. Now similarly, on the other hand, if I want to create another button for cancel, cancel is always a alert option I should show the user. So what I do is the mouse hover color, I will change it to red color. This is the standard we usually follow in IT, that when user try to, my bad, when user try to say cancel, they should get alert that, hey boss, you are clicking on cancel. They should have a alert. Red is a color which is very easy, I can read. I is not the letter I. The visibility for the I is very easy and predominant, that, oh my goodness, I'm doing something I need to monitor, I need to be very vigilant on. Okay, so what usually IT standards are, when I'm operating on submit, usually submit and cancel is red. Do I have to implement this behavior in my app, sir? It is absolutely freehand. I will not ask you to implement. If you want to implement, well and good. If you do not want to, if you do not like, or if your app CSS is not supporting, you do not have to. It's always user preference. UI is always user preference. But one thing we always have to remember is that we have to ensure it is readable, and flexibility for the user is 100%. That is something we always have to keep in our mind. Clear? That is all about the button. And the next important control is uh, let us say the important control is drop down, because the drop down is the one which gives you an option to select gender or state, city, all these things, and the type of the car, or the maker of the car. I want to choose a Toyota car, I want to choose a Honda car, I want to choose a Hyundai. So I cannot ask the user to go ahead and type in everything, right? So I should give all the different makers of my car company by default, what I have in my inventory, or what I have in my garage, right? So that time user will come and they will select, okay, for this time rental, I'm going with Hyundai, or this time rental I'm going with the Mercedes, at this time rental I'm going with the BMW. User will come and select the option. For that time you need to have the set of options as a drop down. So how do you define a drop down? Is drop down important property is items property, very important. Few properties for drop down are important is items property. So in items property is where we will provide the values what to be shown in that drop down, right? So if you notice here, this has a default value for that drop down. When as and when you add the drop down control on the screen, Maker portal of the Power App has added one data set to that control, which is drop down sample. I'm not interested. Now I want to give my own set. How you could do that is, see what is the data type it is expecting. It is expecting a table, because it is not a single value I want to see as part of the control. I want to see more than one value. It is a data set. So, which is in turn the data type is a table. How you could give your table is square braces, start your values. Say like Toyota, BMW, Merck, close brackets. Now you see this. Again, I am holding my Alt control in my keyboard and see this. Now it is no longer showing 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, 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 right? It is started showing me the makers of the car. Now here I'll say, now see the default option is select a brand or select a maker, select a company, whatever you want to give it as. Okay, whatever makes more sense to you. Now when I come here, it did not, earlier it selected Toyota as the default value, right? But notice I have to select one value here. How could I make my drop down to be not selectable? I can make my selection as blank. Here, if you come here, allow empty selection. There's a property called allow empty selection. By default, it is false. I'll make it as true. The time I make it as true, I can always unselect my selection. What is the advantage, sir? Now, if I make my drop down to be allow empty selection, I don't have to say the select the company or select the maker, right? So by default, it doesn't have, and my value is also 0. My value is also 0. So I know that they have not selected anything, right? That is how I can make my control with default selection or the selection to be blank also. So what is the important property? Items property. I missed to tell you one important property for the button is button text display mode. Another property is display mode. So what is the display mode? Display modes are three display modes. Display mode is when I just remove this display mode dot, it shows three modes: view, edit, disable. Again, view, edit, disable. View is, it will render the button as good as a label. As good as a label. When I say view, it will not let you click on that. See this, the behavior. The mouse icon turned out to be hand, but when I come here, it is still showing as the mouse icon only, right? Because the display mode, I turned the display mode from edit to view. Remember, if the button display mode is view, user cannot click on that. If the button display mode is edit, then only they can do it. Then what is the display mode as disabled, sir? See what happens. It will gray out the control. Example, when I am reading the user's input and I want the submit button to be enabled, only user provide all the important or the required field values, then only I want to make my button to be enabled. That time I will make the button property by default disabled, and I'll validate all the important fields were provided with value or not. Then I will turn my button behavior to edit mode. Is that clear? So that is how I can make my button behavior to edit, disable and view. Again, if the button behavior is view and disabled, user cannot click that button. See this. I cannot do any operation. Only at the time of edit only I can do it. And the another very important property on the button is on select. When I click that button, what I want to perform is what we will write under on select property. I repeat, if I want to perform an action as and when I click on the button, where I have to define that is on select property, right? So now let me change that disable mode to edit. Now I want to see a notification, or like I want to see a message as and when I click on the button, or if I want to take user from one screen to another screen, how I can do that? See this. I want to see a alert message. What is that? Is notify. Function name is notify. I'll say that hi, you selected submit button, followed by comma. It asks you, hey buddy, what kind of an information you are showing to user? Is it an error note, information, success message, or a warning? I can also define what information is this. Example, now I want to say when user click on the submit button before providing all the mandatory or the required fields, I do not want to disable the button. I will let user click on the button, but I want to notify the user that, hey buddy, you have not completed all the required fields. How I could do that is I will say that please fill all the required fields. And this time what is my notification is, I could say error or information or warning. I can say that it is definitely not a success message. And if I want to be so polite, I could say information. If I want to be a little harsh, I can say error. Or if I want to be too rude, I'll say warning. And I'll say how long that notification to be on the screen. By default it is 100 milliseconds. Now I'll say 200 milliseconds. Say that, play, and see this. Did you notice that? Now if I want to leave it for a long time, I'll say 1000, which is exactly a second, I believe. Yes. And if I just change that behavior from warning to error, see the background color. Now it turned out to be red. And notice when I do a mouse over onto that notification, it will stay forever. When I turn out, that is when it will look for what is the timeout of this notification user provided. Okay, this is how I can perform on select for showing a notification. No, I don't want okay, I my user is very good user, completed all. uh, Thank you. I want to provide a thank you note. For thank you for providing all the information. Now after this notification, I want to take user to the next screen. Screen number one, user needs to provide their sign in information before they reserve for the car, before they go for a car rental, right? So once they sign in, I have to say that thank you for your enrollment. And now I will have to take user to the next screen, which is selecting the maker and also selecting the type of the car. Selecting the maker is Toyota, and I want to select a SUV. I do not want a sedan car. I do not want sedan or a SUV. I want a hatchback. Hatchback car is Indica. Toyota Indica, or a sedan Indigo, or Toyota Safari. like that, because I should be able to give my selection, which means I need to take user from one screen to a next screen. For that, let me create another screen, say that scr car selection. Now what I want to do, once I show the notification, I want to perform user to navigate to the next screen. What I need to do, I need to add another function or another command. So always in Power Apps, the set of actions are divided with semicolon. Now go to the next one. Now I want to do what I want to do, navigate the user from one screen to another screen. Say navigate. What screen you want to take the user to? Car selection. And this navigation, I can define a behavior when I move user from one screen to another screen. Do you want to give any a transition, like when you turn the paper on the book, in the book, or you want to color fade, or any uncover, cover right, or usually uh, by default the behavior of the transition is none. Okay, and followed by the context value. When I want to send any value from this screen to the next screen, I repeat, I want to send values from this screen to the next screen. Example, I want to send values in a function, call by value, call by reference, right? We know that call by value, call by reference in functions, isn't it? When I want to send a value, what I will do, I will mention what is the name of the function. In parentheses, I will provide the values. What I'm doing, I'm sending a set of input values from my called function to my calling portion of the program to called portion of the program, which is we call it as call by value. If I want to send call by reference, we send the pointer index, so that index we will use in the function to get the value in that particular index. That's what is the call by reference, isn't it? It's been almost 20 years I learned this call by value, call by reference. Did I say right or wrong? Right? So that is how here also I want to send my user with some default value. Example, now I want to send my first name, whatever the first name I have mentioned, or I have given in this text box, to next screen. In the real time, what I will do, I need to send the registered user name to the next screen, because I should always show who is the logged in user on the screen, so that user know it is my session, right? So once user complete their registration, I should always show who is the logged in user on the top right corner. So that time what I will do, I will send a concatenation of first name and last name, so that I can show the username on the top right corner, right? So for now I don't want to drag more. So what is the value I want to I want to pass? The first name. So now come here. These values are context values. These values are called context values. I am sending value from screen 1 to screen 2. What I will do, I always have to open a curly braces. Context values are called local values, which works only in the followed screen. Those values or the variables I cannot refer to another screen. Whichever the screen I'm passing, there only I can use those context value variables. Again, when I'm doing a call by value to addition of two numbers, say add values 5 comma 6, I can do only in that, I can refer those values in that function only. I cannot refer 5 and 6 in multiplication function, right? Yes or no? Similarly, here we also can use those variables in that particular screen where I am navigating user onto. Now I'm navigating user to the car selection. Now I want to say alware. Again, this is a local variable, alware, followed by first name, semicolon. Now I have to say what value I want to associate to this variable. Txt, automatically it showed the control name, txt first name dot text, right? Whatever the text in that control. How do I access the value inside a text box is this. Close the curly braces, close the parenthesis, right? So this is how I can take user to the next screen, also with some transition, what type of a transition my screen should behave when I move user from one screen to another screen, followed by some values from screen 1 to screen 2 as a contextual value. Now go to car selection, add a label here. See, what I'm doing, I'm passing a contextual variable from my previous screen, right? See what happens. Now, if I say alware, see that it automatically identified, hey, somebody is sending some contextual value from other screen of this app. If I take user from different screen and sending a different value, those contextual values will also come here. Example, from home screen, I'm sending first name. From another screen, say like known issues screen, I'm sending the maker value. That time also it will show alware maker name or like company name. It shows that. Now what I am doing, I'm referring that local or contextual variable in my second screen. Let me go back to the screen one, play the app, click on submit button. Notice that I got the notification as thank you for providing all the information. Also took me onto the screen too with the default value as Krishna because I have provided my value of the first name as Krishna, isn't it? Very good, sir. You are mentioning that as a local variable. How many type of variables we have in Power Apps? There are three types of variables in Power Apps and two type of behaviors in Power Apps. Two behaviors and three types. I repeat, two behaviors and three types. Behavior number one, local variable. Behavior number two, global variable. Repeat. Behavior number one, local variable. Behavior number two, global variable. What is the difference between this local variable and global variable? Same old behavior. When I am sending call by value, the value is local to that function. I cannot use the variable which I have defined in that function outside that function, isn't it? That's what we call it as a local variable to that function. Similarly here, local variables are variables which have the scope to that screen level. Global variables are the variables which has the scope at the application or the app level. When I create a variable as a global variable, the variable will hold the value and can be used across the app. Okay, how do we create global variable? We will learn that. Those are the two different behaviors. Then what are the three type of the variables? Again, one is the one variable is a local type single value variable, global single value variable, global collection, global data set. We call it as collection. Contextual variable, local variable, and collections, right? The collections are data sets. Collections are data sets, which means I have more than one value or more than one record in that. Okay, that is what is a collection is. For now, just keep that in your mind. We will learn collections itself is an ocean. We will learn collections and how to create that collection. Okay, but how do I create a global variable, sir? How do I create a local variable? When I want to create a local variable, is this the only way to create a local variable? Absolutely not. If I want to create a local variable, there is a different syntax we need to follow. That is update context followed by open bracket, open curly braces, al var cr name, say like screen name local variable. This will create a local variable. I repeat, this will create a local variable to that screen. But how will I be able to create a global variable, sir? Syntax for global variable is set g var global variable app name. This time I won't now, I will not give colon. I will give comma followed by car rental close parenthesis. Now if it is readable to you is well and good. If it is not readable, if you want to indent your code, always click on format text. It automatically format your text in a readable fashion. Format text will always format your code or the set of statements associated to that function. Clear? Sir, this and all is fine, sir. I have a screen which has multiple local variable, multiple global variables. How could I see how many global variables are there in my app? How could I see how many local variables are in my screen? Okay. How could I do that is when you go to the search and say variables or all. No, my bad. One second. Where is that? Where is that? Okay, I'll tell you where you could see that. For now, just keep that in your mind that there is there are two type of variables. One is a local variable, another one is a global variable, and there is something called a collection. Okay. Now we learned what are we learned today? Text box, drop down, and a button. Now, how do I know what is the value selected out of a text box? Sorry, drop down. Now, let me add another label to see what is the selected value from the drop down. Now, what is the naming convention for drop down is DRP or DDL drop down list. Both are industry standards. DRP drop down or DDL drop down list followed by maker name. Now on this label, go to this label DDL maker name dot selected dot value. You see that? Now whatever the value is selected is coming out there. No, sir. Today I do not want to take one car. I want to explore more than one maker. I want to see cars from Toyota, BMW, and Merc also, which means that I should be able to select more than one maker, right? Isn't it? Why should user explore only one brand or one company every time? I should give a flexibility to my user that go ahead and choose Toyota, BMW, Honda, Hyundai at all the maker, all the brands or all the companies which you have in your mind at one go. Unfortunately, drop down will not support that. Then what will support that functionality is called combo box. Combo box. So combo box is another control, looks very similar to drop down, but this has more capabilities than drop down. The first capability is it will let you select more than one value. It will let you search against the data inside the data set, right? Example, I have around 150 car makers. I cannot keep on do the scrolling business, right? That time what I have to do is, I know that car name starts with T. Okay, go ahead and say T. It should show all the values starting with T, isn't it? So that time what happens? My data set size is shrinking down and my user experience is rising high. My user do not have to do the scrolling business to select a Toyota. My user do not have to scroll down to differentiate Hyundai or Honda, right? So again, here also the important property is items, and let me use the same data set. So here also I have to give the data set as like this. Now see the difference. When I come here and say T, see that? Notice that. What happened? It drilled down my uh, result set. HYUNDI, I believe. Sorry, I'm horrible in spellings. Don't laugh at me. That's how it is. Okay. Now, when I say uh, Hyundai and Honda and come out, just clear my search and say H. See that both Hyundai and Honda both are coming. Imagine that my data set is more than 100 and I started typing in. Now you see the beauty. HU. Again drill down. My data set is coming down and down. So now I want to select more than one value. No problem. You can select more than one value here. So that is a property I have to select. Where I have to select, say that allow multi selection. See this, allow multi selection is by default true. Okay, let me say this mark. See this, I'm able to select more than one maker now. But here I do not have that flexibility. Fine, sir. I select, you are able to select more than one maker. How do user know how many more makers, how many car models user had selected? Like the way how we have the selected value for the drop down, for the combo also, again, the naming convention for combo is CMB, maker names. Now, here, what I have to do is comment in Power Apps. Comments is slash slash. If you want to comment any code block, you will have to code line, you will have to say slash slash. But if you want to comment more than one line of code, say backslash and star. Give me 5 more minutes. I'll complete the class for today. Similarly, here what I have to do is CMB makers dot selected items. See that selected item. But remember, always when you are reading the values from a combo box, it always come with more than one value. Sir, I have not selected one more than one value, sir. I have selected only one value, but the control give the result set as a table. Got it? So for our understanding, what I'm doing is I'm using a function called concat, the selected values followed by value ampersand this. See the beauty now. What I'm doing is now if you play the app, isn't it? I could see what all the car makers what user had selected by concatenating with a comma after every company name, right? So which means this function concat is doing a concatenation of a particular value with whatever the uh, separator I wanted to give. I can also give the separator as period. I can also give the separator as semicolon. It's always user preference. Okay, and the code what we wanted to. This is how we will use the combo box. Again, what are we learned today? A label, text box with multi lines of text, drop down, button, combo box. Last but not least for today, a very important control is gallery. Focus. Let me delete this and add it onto the next screen. Don't want to crowd everything into one screen. So now add a gallery. Before I add a gallery, want to take a minute here is that say gallery here. See how many type of galleries I have. First of all, what is a gallery? A gallery is a control in Power App used to show a set of records in a grid orientation on the screen. I repeat, gallery is a control in Power Apps to show a set of records as a grid or as a as in a readable format on the screen for the user. That is a gallery. However, gallery has 6 options. What are all those 6 options? I personally categorize as 3 options because if you notice here, it has vertical, horizontal, flexible height, followed by blank vertical, blank horizontal, blank flexible height gallery. All they have added is a blank. So forget about the blank. So what are the different type of galleries we have in Power Apps? 3 types. Vertical gallery, horizontal gallery, flexible height gallery, right? The name says vertical gallery is to organize the controls in a vertical fashion. Horizontal gallery is to organize the control in a horizontal fashion. Flexible height gallery gives the flexibility for you to define what is the height I wanted to give for a row in my gallery or the grid. Okay, now add a gallery, say standard vertical gallery, and notice what are all the important properties for this gallery. Important property for this gallery is again items. What is a gallery? Gallery is a control in Power Apps comes with a flexibility to show more than one record or more than one column of the data set, right? So now what it is doing, it is giving me a flexibility to show a table of data. Now expand the small drop down icon and see what is there in that. It has a table with 3 columns and 4 rows, right? It has a header as sample heading, sample image, sample text followed by 4 rows, isn't it? What is the feed we provide to this gallery on the real time is a table data or a collection. If I want to show all the data in my table onto the screen without any filters on it or without any data trimming, we give the table name to the gallery as the property of items and it will show all the data in the table into the gallery, period. But if I want to filter out the data, I'll have to filter. Example, I have the cars in my inventory. However, user want to see only the cars where the maker is Toyota. So I have to say, show me all the cars my inventory where the maker name is Toyota, right? So what I'm doing, I'm I'm trimming down my data set size from 100 records to 20 records because I'm applying a filter. So that formula also have to be provided as part of this items property of the gallery. Coming back to the orientation. What is the orientation of, what is the type of this gallery? It is a vertical gallery. It is a vertical gallery. So I know the gallery is vertical gallery, but I'm not happy with the way how the controls are coming by default. What I can do, I can always change my layout how I want. I want a blank. Remember, I said only three types because I can make my vertical gallery as a blank vertical gallery also by changing the layout, isn't it? So typically I don't have to select from the list of galleries from the contextual menu. I can add a vertical gallery. I can change the layout from the vertical gallery to blank vertical gallery, which will clean out all the controls. See that when I say that, it just cleaned out all the default controls what has been part of that gallery. But no. I want one label by default for each and every row. Go ahead and say title. See this? Now this time what it added is it got a single variable or single value in each and every row, which is title. No, I want two values in each and every row. Go ahead, title and subtitle. Say this. Sir, I want to raise the users flexibility or users readability by giving additional values. Say like what is the maker, what is the car name, what is the version, example, what is the type of the car. Example, I selected Toyota has Toyota Camry is there, Toyota Corolla is there, Toyota Highlander is there. These three cars are three different cars. Two are sedan cars and one is SUV. So I have to show the maker name and the type of the car, SUV or sedan, and also the name of the car, and also what is the engine capacity, version 6.0, 3.0, what is that, and also what is the type of the car, is it a petrol car or a diesel car. These are all the values I have to show as part of the gallery, so user know that, oh no, this time I'm not going with the diesel car, last time I had a bad experience with the diesel car, let me go with the petrol car. So I have to show that value. How do I do that is I need to add more and more controls on the gallery. So how could I do that is expand that gallery width and just compress these control, because I know the Toyota doesn't require that much space. I'll just adjust these controls as per my need, and followed by this I need to add additional controls. Remember, how can I add additional controls on the gallery is, first you need to select the gallery, click on this pencil icon and start add the labels. See this, I added a label on row 1. It automatically added the value or same control in the rest of the rows also, because it is a repeated control. Mind you, gallery is one type of a control. When you add to the top row, the same control will get appear in each and every row. Okay, this is how I can organize my data in a vertical gallery. Remember, what is a vertical gallery? A vertical gallery is the one which gives the orientation of records in a vertical fashion. If you notice here how it is one after other in a vertical way. But when you add a gallery with horizontal, horizontal gallery, notice that how the records are, how the records orientation is. Horizontally, isn't it? When do we use this kind of a gallery is when we wanted to show the college anniversary day photos, or college anniversary related, or like academic completion, and user wanted to show their what you call their accomplishment as part as a gallery with one by one slide. That time we will use the horizontal gallery, because user will be able to navigate one after other, right? So that is how we will do this. These are the two important types. And the last but not least is flexible height gallery. That will take a good amount of time. We will cover in the next class. Okay. So these are the two different type of galleries we learned today. So followed by that, the homework for you guys is